I need a new one. That's probably why I haven't really done it. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I'm your host, A.D. Walker. To my left, right, I have Mr. Thomas Cotton back in the building. And right below me is my brother, like no other, Mr. Larry Banks in the building.
Looking dapper.
Looking dapper. Oh, man. All right, so I'll do it, Larry. I ain't done it in a minute, but this is your opportunity to share. We're gonna drop this intro real quick, and we'll be right back after this.
Stand up.
See, yeah, I'm gonna need that little jingle in the background. Want to borrow
that? We don't stand out. We stand up.
There you go. We stand up.
Bars. Bars.
Hey, Lisa. Bars. Hey, Lisa. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome again, guys. I had something on my head, but it's fine. We're gonna go with. I got a couple of quick news stories. I'm just go ahead put it like a ticker, like we Fox News. So first up is the lab created chicken. Have you guys heard about this?
Ooh.
Lab created chicken. So I got to thinking, right?
Nothing good,
right? I got to thinking. I mean, I get it. Something created in the lab doesn't sound like it'd be good for your body. But I think about at least, I mean, if they can somehow make it decent for your body, you know, when there's a lack of food, or if we go through a famine, you know, like at least there's availability of something alternative. I know it's like, but it's made in the lab. and listen, because there is no chicken involved in this process. No chicken was harmed in this process.
So it's not like a test tube chicken.
Then you're just a vegan at that point. I'm just saying you're eating this vegan meat, or
maybe it's like veganish, right? But it's made in the lab.
Not even meat. Why do you even call it meat?
So you call it
just the habit of calling something meat.
So you got beyond meat, so we can call it the lab chicken.
Meat lab.
Yeah, something like that. It's all genetically modified anyways.
Right. Well, that too. But there's no chicken involved. It's to cut down on the slaughtering and all the other good things they want to throw at you. Like, it's good. It's good.
So if we cut down on the slaughtering of chickens, then what happens?
I guess we have more chickens. I don't know. Eggs. We got more eggs.
More eggs. Price of eggs go down. Okay. I can rock with that.
Right. How was milk turned to powder? I don't know. My mama used to get that powdered milk. I couldn't stand that stuff. She loved. I think because she was lactose. That's probably why she used to mess with it. But yeah, I couldn't stand that stuff. She couldn't do that in eggs.
So I want to know: has everybody had powdered milk before?
Man,
I'm just wondering because, huh?
When my grandma came home with that, I was like,
"Grandma."
You know, we were standing in that line. Sometimes she'll go by herself, and she came home with powdered milk. I was like, "What's powdered milk? How you make milk? Oh, just add water."
Right.
We didn't have
a whisk. Unnatural. That's just
we didn't have a whisk in the house, and it was all lumpy and.
It was lumpy. And it immediately made your cereal soggy. Immediately. It was like you pour it in there, and you got a bowl of soggy cereal.
Right.
You can have that. What was that? Grape nuts. You can have them, and it still make that soggy.
Not the grape nuts. It's not grape nuts.
The nasty cereal too.
Yeah, that's
all that
cigarette
nasty
snack.
stuff.
I'd rather do the dry Cheerios with no sugar.
Yeah.
Food with the grape nuts. Oh man, I remember that. I so in other news, 30-minute naps help the brain. 30-minute naps. They're doing a study that found that 30-minute naps helps the brain because the older you get, they said your brain shrinks, but 30-minute naps keeps it healthy. So my word today is nap on. Nap on.
So, so NASA had a study, and I want you to do the right amount of nap. So who are we going to listen to? Is this NASA did a study that 26 minutes is the perfect nap.
26 minutes is the perfect nap.
26 minutes is the perfect nap.
Okay,
you rest and rejuvenate. Your brain is ready. Yeah. So
who has an alarm to scroll to the 6 when you're already at the 0?
Hey, you know what? That's what makes me think about all the stuff we watch and listen to.
Right.
These fools are
Some of them they make up. They guesstimate it.
Yeah. Why not 25 minutes? Why 26? Right?
Why it got to be the 26?
But it's NASA. It has to be right. I read it on the internet. It has to be right.
Right. Right. All right. I heard it on the internet.
NASA's still struggling getting rockets launched into space. How long they been doing this?
They got one job they've been doing forever. One.
Right.
Yeah. And they want to tell me 26 minutes is better for that. Come on, like freaking Jeff Bezos and who's the other dude?
Elon
Musk. They done got passenger shuttles going out into space now, and NASA just still like, we can't get this rocket launch today. So
hey, but naps are rocket science. You know that, right?
Don't start. What's up, Jeff? Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Mama Corey. Great morning to you. Sean says, hold on. Did I hit it right? Nope. There's a go. Sean says napping versus closing eyes versus REM sleep.
Oh, see, I told you it's rocket science. There it is, right there.
It's levels to it.
Close eyes, but close eyes really helps out a lot too. I don't even need to go sleep. Close my eyes; they're already almost there.
Right.
That's why I keep saying I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes. My eyes just closed.
Listen, you hit that REM sleep when you go. Wait, what time is it?
Ooh, that one. Right
you went deep. Like, oh, I was gone. All right. And last, the missing sub is running out of air. If you don't know about the exploration to the Titanic, well, not really exploration, but those of unscientific community, they were going to see, I guess, remnants of the Titanic, and something has happened with the sub. They've gotten lost, I guess, or they can't find it. So we're praying for them. I'm gonna need y'all stop placing judgment. Like, why would you go down there? One report says it's one of the descendants of the Titanic. Someone that was related, I guess, to someone. I guess maybe a couple of generations close to the descendants. So, I get it. It was a lot. It's a lot of money. I heard from what I heard.
$250,000.
Go ahead.
So, to me, I'm like, God, I hope they find these people, because that's just a terrible way to go, right? But it's interesting. It's like the science behind it. It says it takes 8 hours for it to descend.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's something I read. And the disconnect happened like shortly into the, like an hour and some change, 90 minutes or something.
Wow.
And so it was like you're searching this big old ocean, but to me, it's like if it's only been gone an hour and a half, you should be able to search a certain area, narrow it down. I would think. Now I don't
You would
know.
think.
Maybe there's currents. Maybe there's other
Yeah.
stuff. But it's like
It would be like right in this. Yeah.
But
But maybe
searching
it's
the
small.
ocean is a
Yeah.
that thing's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's
we're
just
praying for him. I mean, it. Yeah. Yeah, Larry, what are you gonna say?
No, it's almost like it's endless, the ocean. But
Yeah.
I saw, how much technology. You said $250,000. How much technology was really put into this? It seemed like it was like really scaled back.
Oh.
But they were saying it was here in banging, so that could mean one or two things: either the people on there like in like 30-minute increments, either the people are banging, or it was like it must have got inside the Titanic and is bumping up against it or whatever. So yeah, like what you put, because I wasn't going to judgment, but I'm like, what why are we still talking about the Titanic
All
what
these
is,
years later.
what is the marvel about it until this day, right?
Right.
But when you said they wanted the descendants on there,
Right. Because when I heard that too, I kind of pulled back. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, I do wonder like why it's such a curious thing, like why people are so interested in going now, other than like it being in the museum, like being somewhere
Right.
that you can safely see it, like way down in the ocean. I would understand if it was explorers trying to pull it up, like can we grab, like, because it happens, people, archaeologists, people, you got the Indiana Jones are trying to find stuff and interested and curious, and unfortunately get over their head, literally. So yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, like was the decision to just leave it in the ocean all this time? Why haven't we pulled it out? I thought we did pull it out at one point.
I think because it's so far down, I don't think any boat or rig can really just go down there and do it.
Right.
So he said, Jeff says, you would think that the sun would be equipped with the sub will be equipped with all kinds of emergency transmitters, emergency blast. It's possible. It's possible.
Well, it's supposed to have, if there was an issue, it's supposed to be able to float back up to the top.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that after 24 hours, it's supposed to be able to do that. The submarine, but the Titanic. Going back to that,
yeah,
it's a sad situation that people lost their lives and everything on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, it was a failure. Like you have a monument of a failure.
Right.
And I get it that people have lost their lives and everything else, and but to want to go down and see a failed, I don't even want to call it experiment, but just like a failure. Like, we got to go see what this failure looked like.
Right. see what happened to it.
Like, if you want to honor the lives of the people who are a part of that, you can honor them in different ways. You want to see a shipwreck, go to, why do that?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Oh, Sean said, he said, if I found out my great grandfather died on a plantation, I don't want to go visit. I'm good on that. I can't with you, Sean.
Why not? He might have been like Chicken George. Come on.
Oh gosh.
Right. Crazy.
What's up, Kadeem? AKA
Black
Sheep in the building.
What up, gentlemen?
Hey, man.
I actually had a homeboy named Chicken George.
Mama named him Chicken George. I'm gonna call him Chicken George.
Everybody called him Chicken George. That's what we did. Then what was so bad about it? I guess it wasn't bad. It's just how it was that he had 2 teeth, and they were separated probably about 6 teeth. So when you open that mouth, you saw the 2 teeth on the outside. Boy, when I tell you, Chicken George, then he talked fast. So you imagine seeing them 2 teeth.
You gotta talk fast. He don't want you looking at his mouth.
Looking in his mouth, right?
But that was my boy though. That was my boy.
Chicken
That was
George.
my boy.
Maybe that lab created chicken and work out for him.
Oh.
Oh shoot, man! You should actually see him eating. It is a sight to behold.
I bet it is. Them lips be moving.
Okay.
Hey, quick.
See, I wasn't gonna do it, Thomas.
Quick.
We all seen
Hey.
someone like that back in the days. Boy, and don't be trying to talk while you eating either, because you ain't got nothing to block that.
Oh no, it's splatter everywhere. You right about that, bro. It's splatter everywhere.
No, you ain't supposed to be talking while you eating.
Yeah.
Y'all are wrong.
Eating, drinking, and smoking a cigarette all at the same time.
Oh
Wait,
wow.
he would what?
Eat, drink,
Eating,
and smoke
drinking,
cigarettes.
and smoking a cigarette at the
Oh.
same time.
Did he leave the cigarette on the end of his mouth and be talking? Be trying to put chicken on the other side?
Oh yeah. Hey,
That was just done.
All right.
that's my boy though. That's my boy.
Yeah, old Chicken George.
Oh man, look, just that I'm already imagining how he talk. I can hear him now. I can't. Yeah. Y'all are so wrong. We're gonna pray for y'all. We're gonna pray for y'all.
Shout out to Chicken George.
So speaking of the submarine, we're talking about decisions, navigating our decisions, and mounting up and dealing with, I guess the consequences. I mean, I don't know, I heard a long time ago, consequences aren't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just the result of the decision that you make. It's the impact or what happens after you make certain decisions. And what do you do, when decisions are wrong? Do you chuck it up? Are you willing to apologize, or are you willing? Oh, and before we get to that part, when you're making certain decisions about taking on things, or projects, or connecting, and all that, because connections are decision making as well. And me and Larry kind of etched on it. When was it? What's today? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. we kind of discussed, the counting up the cost of making certain decisions, especially as if you're married, have families, because any time that you make towards one thing is taking away from something else.
For
If
sure.
that makes sense. And real talk, do you guys count up the full cost of the decisions that you make, or sometimes you kind of think of half of the consequences, but not the whole? Like, you think like, I didn't think about that part.
I mean, a lot of times we think about the benefits before we think about consequences, right? We don't consider. I mean, that's why prisons are so full. We're thinking about benefits, not consequences. And a lot of times when we get into multi-level marketing, you think about business benefits, not consequences. Right. There's just so many different things when it comes to counting up the costs that we know that there's this other side of the game, right? But what we don't do is factor that side in, because even in church, I'm going to name it and claim it. I'm going to blab it and grab it, and it's like, it's one of those things where we kind of put the good out there and we forget that, wait a minute, we got to navigate this path. You can't just jump out there with an idea and think that this is the way it's going to work. You have to really begin to plan it out, to look at it, count the cost, to take time, to get sometimes other people's perspective on it. Not everybody's perspective, because there could be a good thing that you're about to do, but someone else has that negative perspective and they always bringing that negativity around you. And so you don't need that, but you do need to get some people that you trust into, the process to be able to count the full cost, because a lot of times we don't see the full picture. We don't see the pain on the other side. There's a saying in a song back in the days, it's fun in the beginning, but it's pain in the end.
But yeah, so with me, I learned how it felt with the consequences of making a decision early, right? This like in high school. my grandmother, she we have Alzheimer's in the family, right? And she was dealing with Alzheimer's. She was all out. She was pretty much gone, right? Mentally, right?
Wow.
And if anybody ever dealt with that, the person with the Alzheimer's dementia, that stuff is real. And
Yeah.
best way to deal with it is just to constantly engage that person, even if that person is not mentally there. Just engage them. It's not for them; it's for you. But on my way to my high school graduation, my boy Leonard was late getting to my house for us to go catch the bus, so we were having to walk to go somewhere by Brooklyn Tech, somewhere out there, right?
Okay.
To get to our graduation on time. Yeah, walking was better than catching the bus. We didn't want to get that beat down. But on the way, my mom was like, go stop by your grandma's house and let her see you in your cap and gown. I'm like, so when we get out the house, I'm like, yeah, all right, Mom. Get out the house. I'm like, man, she not even want to know who I am. So why should I bother, right?
Right.
And then, so I didn't go by there. Went on to my graduation, went through the day, right?
Right.
And that was my choice to make. That's the decision I made, right?
Right.
And about a month later, my grandma passed, right? I didn't know that was in game for this. The person is actually mentally and physically deteriorating. Right. And I was like, man, that didn't hurt. And I was like, crap. And I realized my mom's words was, go let your grandma see you in your cap and gown. But it was not for my grandma to see me in my cap and gown. It was for me to have her looking at me, right? And it was like a moment that I missed out. So then at that point, I learned that if I want to make a decision, I need to own up to it and deal with it and not have any regrets. Make a decision, don't have regrets. And that was one of the things I would instill in my kids. Like, hey, if you're gonna make a decision, I want you to learn to own up to it and don't regret your decision. But what I guess I'm leaving out is what I'm trying to get them to do, not dwell on the consequences in case the consequences may hurt them. I was trying to avoid them from having self-hurt. So maybe sometimes you do need to know what the consequences are. Because just a quick another example. I went through life not needing to know who my biological father was, but when we finally caught up with him, I found out I had a younger brother and an older sister. I was me not want to get him. I missed out on 2 other opportunities for years. So now I'm building memories, and I'm like, man. So now I'm trying to let. I still don't regret the decisions I make, but I want to make sure that I weigh what the consequences are when I do them. So yeah. That's so. Still learning. I'm still a work in process. Maybe I get another 15 years.
Right. Amen.
But I'm on it.
Oh, got a phone call. All right. Jeff says, makes sense, Larry. I would never have thought of that. It was for your benefit. True indeed.
So one of the things that in my older years that I'm more, I guess, less patient with people and their decisions. Because a lot of times what we do is we make decisions and then we cry about the results, and what ends up happening is we make these decisions and we know that there's, 2 sides to these decisions.
Right.
And then we want to blame the world for the decision that we made. Right. And I think there's an age of accountability and an age of awareness that we should all have at this point. And if we make a decision, accept the consequence, accept whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
Just know you made the decision. Now recover. If it doesn't turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out, time to recover. Right. We all make bad decisions. We can't go around thinking that this life is going to be a perfect decision-making machine, right? I got them all together, and as I get older, I'm making the best decisions ever. No, you're not. And there's a time where when we own our stuff and we can own those decisions and we can own the mistakes that we make, we can recover. Right. But if we don't own that and we don't start to look at, the decisions we make and navigate these decisions, good or bad, the outcomes are what they are. Right. That's the hand you're dealt. Play it. And if we quit and we stop playing the hands that we're dealt, then we end up finding ourselves further down this rabbit hole because we start talking down to ourselves, start feeling a certain way about life and everything else.
Right.
But the moment we can begin to get to that point of age of accountability and own our mess, then we can navigate our decisions even better because, yes, that's a learning lesson.
Yeah.
That's something I'm not going to do. I went to prison. It was the best experience of my life as far as helping me mature, but it's something I'll never do again. You know, look, decision was made. The outcome happened. I deal with it. That's it. There's nothing else I can do. Now, what do I do from here? You know, let me own this mess.
And I think that's why I will always tell them, you know, you make a decision, don't have any regrets, so they don't get lost in the, you know, being down on themselves.
Right.
It's almost my way of saying, you know, rub some dirt on it and keep it going, right? Keep moving. You know, it's that same kind of mindset. Probably kind of brutish, but you know, like, hey.
But we got to take a pause in the middle of making a bad decision though, because we can't just keep it moving. And that's not saying that's not what I think you're saying. Yeah. But a lot of times what we forget is we make a bad decision, we just jump right back in and try to fix it. And we don't come back and be like, what in the world just happened here? Let me assess. Is this what I'm supposed to be in life? You know, and you know, we will say, you know, God is leading me in my life and God is doing this. Well, if I'm in this space right now, this is a space where God has me at. What am I supposed to be doing here? And a lot of times, you know, but we just want to jump right back in and keep trying to fix it. And we keep doing the same stuff over and over again, trying to fix the same mess. Right. And it's not working. Sometimes we just got to take that step back and then, you know, be able to see.
So here we go. How do you know you made a bad decision though? I don't make bad decisions.
I didn't want to go there.
It's a bad decision, you know, especially you say, you know, like, you know, God put you there, you know, is it a bad decision? Were you led to that?
Right.
It was a frowned upon or society, because you know now what society expectations are, right? So society would say is a bad decision. Is it a bad decision then? Because society dictates it as a bad decision.
Well, you know, I think you just got to be faithful with everything that you have, anyways, in your life. You know, you find yourself looking, and I'm not trying to get biblical. Yes, I am. Joseph found himself, you know, in prison for things that he didn't do. He was framed, and he, you know, there's so many different examples of people in the Bible who found themselves in bad situations, but they all work together for good. A lot of times we're not willing enough to go through the things that can strengthen us and help us to get better. We just want to get out. We don't want to go through. And so a lot of times, you know, when you're in situations like that and you're looking for those moments to strengthen you, to help you to develop, to help you see something different, that's what we're in the moments for. We're not in the moments, you know, it's forged by fire. You know, sometimes you have to be forged by fire. Sometimes to get to be able to handle whatever else is next, you have to go through some things. And, I mean, you know, no one wants to be in a bad situation. But we find ourselves there. So what do you do then?
But I think it's just being, like, who said it? Jeff said, being honest with yourself, you know, right? I've always tried to be honest with myself. So it's generally made it easy to take responsibility for my decisions. I think being honest, and like you said, a lot of times things happen. We try to, well, I won't say we, but you know, I try to point outward and not take the inside decision, you know, like, oh man, all these factors around me made this bad. It wasn't my decision. It's the other stuff that made this bad. Instead of taking the proper responsibility that you should for, you know, the decisions that you make. And it is, like Thomas was saying, it is that take a pause and self-reflection and try to understand how I got myself into that space. I will say, just because you reflect doesn't mean you won't find yourself back in that space again, but you try to mitigate the loss again.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. So have you guys ever been in this situation where it was a decision you had made, let's say a purchase or something like that, and as soon as you made that decision to get something or whatever, it was like taken away from you bluntly, and you're like, wow, maybe it wasn't meant for me. The Lord did not set me up for that, for that way. That wasn't for me at this moment in time. Is that a wrong way to defer it? Because especially if you go by faith, you never have a strong faith. You're like, okay,
Right.
it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me at that time, and I made a decision, and Lloyd corrected it, and now it's me to understand and wait till it's my time to actually do it. Like car purchase. Who made that car purchase early on, and the car purchase was bluntly removed from you.
Well, sometimes you got to look at things like a car purchase, and you're going out getting a $500-600 car note, and you're struggling every single month with the 19% interest rate, and you think the Lord has blessed me because I look good. It looks good, it's clean though, but in reality, that's a bad decision, and the Lord saved you from your bad decision, basically.
I use
Lord, take it away.
I made visitations to the sick and shut-in. I was using it. Why are you gonna take it?
Right.
Because he made a bad decision. You was thinking about you. But a lot of times we make decisions, man, we have trauma in life, and life causes hardships and everything else, and we're just looking for that glimmer of hope. And sometimes if someone approves me for a loan that I can get this car, and I've always wanted this car, it could be a blessing. And maybe I can figure out a way to maintain this car. I got it now, it's in my possession. I'd rather have it than not have it. A lot of times we make those kinds of decisions. It doesn't stop with just people making decisions. We think we've heard, and maybe we've all heard, that people who go to prison go to prison and they start thinking about a master plan of how can I do this better.
Wow.
And they think that I can do this better. Next time I won't get caught because I won't do this, or I won't be with this person.
I only got caught because I did such. I only got caught because I was messing around with Thomas.
So they're still blind. They have blinders on to the fact that there's a whole bunch of different forces out there that will hunt you down for whatever you do. And they forget that aspect of it. They're just thinking about me and self, so they do their self-reflection. But the way they self-reflect is with this grandiose mindset. And so a lot of times we have to begin to pull all that back and start to humble ourselves within the decisions we make, and start to recognize, where am I getting off track here? Why am I having these hardships with the decisions I'm making? And own that mess. And so,
that's a good question.
It's interesting. That's a whole other show right there.
Who's responsible for and accountable for trauma and abuse you didn't ask for or deserve?
So, and I'm honest, like when I say this is a whole other show, but I'll try to hit it as quick as I can. I never blame a victim for things that they've experienced.
Right.
The victim is a victim, period.
Right.
When especially when they're a child and they experience abuse or other things that take place. But what I will say is there's a point of accountability. We cannot be victimized and then make bad decisions and we continue to say it's because I went through something when I was younger.
That's good.
There comes a point where when we start to get into adulthood and we can see things where we have the trauma, then I have the ability to make a decision to deal with that trauma.
Right.
Or what a lot of people do is they sweep the trauma under the rug and never deal with it. They try to package it away, but it's always coming back. It always surfaces when you're in a certain situation. We've all heard about the good relationship where someone just jacks it up because of the traumas of their past and they haven't let them go. And so, they bring that into their great relationship, got a good person in their relationship, but because of their old traumas, they haven't been able to heal from them. So
Right.
they're always bringing mess into the relationship. There's a point where that person has to recognize my old relationships are jacking up my new relationships.
Right.
And so, that's just one example, but there's, I understand that the hurt is real. We've all been traumatized, every single person, by an adult somehow, some way.
Right.
The worst fear I have as being a parent is how much trauma am I causing my children? I'm trying not to, but how am I, but I'm also equipping them to be able to become accountable, own the stuff, make better decisions, do better, because it's a both and. It's not an either or. It's not I'm a victim or I'm a victorious. It's I can be a victim and victorious at the same time. So we have to just begin to walk through that process and own that process. So to answer Richard's question, we're responsible for the trauma. I'll tell you this, in my classes, I tell everybody, there's a whole lesson I teach on responsibility. And the final outcome of what I tell everybody, it's all your responsibility. Everything that's in your life is your responsibility. Because if you don't own it, you can't do anything about it. There's a book back here called Extreme Ownership. And it talks about the depth of ownership of the things in our life that I have to own these decisions. I have to go extreme with this ownership if I'm ever going to overcome the traumas and the challenges that I faced in my past.
I feel like I know that book. Kaneem, we've been talking a lot. Hey, brother. Good morning, sir. Is that yes? That is him. That is him. So, what's your? How do you feel about the decisions?
I was just listening to some of the wisdom that Thomas was spitting out. You know what I'm saying? I was absorbing it. I can't really say, man. I mean, as far as the decisions that I make, do I weigh the consequences, or do I must say that most of the decisions are calculated, so I guess I would have to fall into that category of weighing benefits versus consequence. But I'm more on the beneficial side, like Thomas was saying. Consequences, I mean, as long as I don't have a lot of loss financially or a lot of loss in freedom, I'm willing to take chances like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me, though. So it just depends on what it is I'm trying to do or accomplish. So
Would you
I guess that's
say
my.
you try to, I guess, limit your taking the chance, because I think that's how the word used, taking the chance more if the consequence affects you, or you just like, it's gonna help us all. I'm gonna make this jump and hope for the best kind of thing.
Well, let me definitely make it clear that I take 0 penitentiary chances.
I was not going there. I was not going there.
Let me go ahead and say that. You know what I'm saying? So,
I got to turn my volume up. Say that again.
0.
Zero penitentiary chances.
0. So, other than that, it's more financial and emotional. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like I'm making decisions so my family is emotionally equipped to handle it,
Okay.
and whether good or bad,
Right.
and financially equipped to handle it. So I think those are the consequences that I weigh, but the benefit definitely has to outweigh the consequence. So,
Okay.
but, I mean, it's so many variations on how you can do it. I mean, it just depends on what context you putting it in.
0.
Yeah, interesting thing is, we can make 0 penitentiary chances, but we can make, and I'm not talking about Kaneem. He just made me think about something. We can make 0 penitentiary chances, but we'll make decisions that create trauma and put ourselves in our own mental penitentiaries, so to speak. The worst prison a person can ever be in is not physical, it's mental.
Right.
And so we make terrible mental health decisions in our lives in the name of fun a lot of times too. And so or in the name of coming up or trying to make it in this life or whatever. And we'll make those decisions. And as we're navigating those decisions, we're not counting the costs, because in our mind, all we're trying to do is the right thing. All we're trying to do is make it in this world.
Right.
Biggie had a song, you used to call police on me. All I was trying to do is feed my baby girl, and
What do you call it?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to sell drugs in front of departments, calling the
I was
cops on
selling
me.
drugs in front of the apartment, but you calling police, and all I'm trying to do is feed
Right.
my baby girl, right? When you start thinking that mindset, though, right? You think about it, like all he's trying to do is feed his baby girl, but I still look clean. I got gold. I got all this other. You ain't just trying to feed your baby girl, first of all. Second of all, but in his mind, he is, right? Because I've met thousands of guys like this. Not,
Yeah.
in his mind, that's what he's trying to do, but I got to look clean while I'm doing it. And I have a rep to protect, and I have all these other things, right? So when we start thinking about the decisions we make, we think that in the name of I'm just trying to feed, or I'm just trying to do this is the reason why I do it. And then anything that's in opposition to that is in opposition to me. And therefore, you're against me, and all I'm trying to do is make it in this world. But the reality is, some of those things that we put ourselves in create the trauma, create the prisons, create the challenges that we continue to face years on down the line. Right. And if we don't know how to disrupt those cycles, we find ourselves continuing in those cycles over and over again and passing them on to our children. Right. And that generational trauma is a terrible prison to be in.
Definitely. Which said the human condition. There's hundreds of thousands of people walking around in their own portable prisons. True indeed. Sean says, if you figure it out from the beginning, then you don't have to work it on the back end. Learning not to be in an environment that tempts you into negative consequences.
Mm-hmm.
True indeed.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's more for a younger version of or adolescent learning. Because you absorb your environment as a youngster, and I've been believing in that. Like from 8 to, I say probably from 8 to 18, you kind of like mimicking your environment. You getting into it. That's what you. I'm gonna be this, what you see or whatnot. So, like Sean was saying, if you get away, or if you change your environment, or if you change the people that you associate with, you start mimicking different things that could be positive instead of negative. Because I know that's kind of like how I was. I had to change my environment and start rubbing shoulders with positive people. You know what I'm saying? They had a different outlook on life. It wasn't just about hanging out, streets and stuff like that. It was more civilized. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that 100%, Sean.
Nice. Richard says, Thomas Kahn, the worst decisions and the consequences made, the experience that led you to mature and transform to the best you today. I mean, I think that helps because it's self-reflective, like Kaneem had lived one life and he learned some things, took some things away from it and threw away the zero.
Zero. So think about this though, because a lot of times that's the perspective we take. Like the worst consequences and decisions that we went through, it helps us to mature, helps us to get to a certain point. But we can also go through good things,
right,
that help us to mature and elevate us.
Right.
But we feel like we have to take 10 steps backwards. Right. Then we got to learn. Then we got to recover. Right. And then we got to try to, and then we have to deal with the new trauma that we, put in our lives. Why can't we make the better decisions first?
Right.
And then learn from that? So, an example, when I was growing up, people used to always say, you go to school, get a good education, get a good job, and all this. And, I'm like, dang, they just told us how to become a slave for the man and everything else. Just because you get a bachelor's degree doesn't mean you're going to get a job. Doesn't mean, but you know, the thing is, I would rather go through that experience, learn from that experience, and learn how to flip that experience to a better experience than not go through that experience and just hang out in the hood and do things that turn out to be negative and being shot at and all these other things, right? Why not flip that into something better? And that's sometimes our mind has to shift from these negative things that we hear that keep us from doing the positive things, and keep us in that negative cycle longer than we should be. And then now we've created more challenges that we have to overcome, more barriers. And so I think about my life, you know, the last 20 years is basically the amount of time I've been living, you know, since I've, you know, been out of prison. And that's my new life. It's been 20 years. But what if I would have took the 10 years before that and did something different that gave me a 10 years more foundation without all the other barriers that I had to overcome, and then was able to do some of the same things I'm doing now? How much further along would I be?
If you went a different route.
We can't think about the what ifs. I'm grateful for where I'm at. There's a lot of experiences that I have that no one else will ever be able to know or even see, that have opened my eyes to a way of life that's amazing. But at the same time, there are people in other generations coming up after us that don't have to take that path.
True indeed.
They don't have to take that path.
Yeah.
But they end up taking the path anyway, no matter how many times we try to share and impart our knowledge, and not just knowledge, but our experiences on them, right? It's like
hard head make a soft ass.
that's what's happening. So it's like a you know, that continuous circle. Like it's always a reset. It always starts all over right back at the beginning, and they, you know, it's just moving on past that. You know, it's like, you know, I grew up in the projects. I grew up in the hood. I was like, okay, let me make sure that my kids don't grow up in that environment. Give them something better. So now you give them something better, but somewhere along the way they're like, you know, did you give them too much better? You know,
too much better, right?
Better. Yeah, that's gonna be the phrase.
That's one way of looking at it,
right? It's like, yeah, you want to do this, so now you want to take where we got you and get even better, but then they end up going back and have to relearn. They have to go through the experiences, go through the hurt, and then they start to build themselves back up. And maybe they get to the too much better, or they get better than too much better.
No doubt.
So there's that. You probably heard this before. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Exactly. Yeah. See, there it is. Yeah. In a nutshell. Why did you say that earlier to help save me from, you know,
having to figure all that out, right?
Because I need to hear your wisdom.
Save you from too much better. Yeah,
too much better.
Too much. Listen, here on the Brothers Legacy, we like to come up with new phrases. Too much better. All right. So Jeff says it's funny how putting our hand on a hot plate teaches us better than, let's say, I make a good decision. I don't seem to think about the lessons in a positive decision as much, right? Oh, what's up, Reese? He said, good morning, Gerald Levert, stunt double.
So, you know, that saying that Jeff is saying, hot plate teaches us better. It teaches more discipline. Yeah. Because when you make good decisions, you become less disciplined. You become more arrogant also within those decisions, especially if you're hitting good decision after good decision after good decision. One of the things that when I was investing in real estate, I thought I couldn't do any wrong. Like everything was gold, like liquid gold. It was like, man, I would say this all, man, this is legal drug money. And, like I'm killing it, legal drug money. And so now that I'm making all these decisions, I'm like, man, I can't do no wrong. I'm built in the factor of the market crashing and things like this. But see, sometimes you can't count the cost exactly. Sometimes you have to be humble and know when to pull back and know when to to take a win and say, I've won, let me pull back some. Don't keep going full into something. For me, I got blinded and didn't think that the market would crash the way it crashed.
Right.
Yeah, I built in a 50% loss, not a 300% loss, you know? And so there's kind of those kind of things where you start to look at and you think I'm making the best decisions ever.
Right.
And then you get to that point where it's, you know, you're losing and you've lost so much. And it's like, why? I'm only trying to make the right decisions. The right decisions, sometimes you have to recognize where your heartbeat is at that moment, because in those moments, I was craving the money more than I was craving, you know, the life that and the living and everything else. And so it's important to really sometimes making the best decision is just to pause and humble yourself in the process.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the Jeff made that analogy about that hot plate or that picking that hot plate up or even just grabbing something off the stove. How many times have we continuously burned ourselves trying to get that hot plate or that the handle off the stove a different way?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going to do it differently.
Right.
I know the pot handle's over there, or the dish rag is over there, but maybe if I grab it for 10.2 seconds, I can avoid from getting burned again, right?
I can slide it over real fast.
Yeah, but I was talking, who made decisions like that? You know, like it's like you go back in, like, all right, you know better. You know what if you do it wrong, you know what's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, so if I do it this way, maybe it'll work, and you end up in the same. When you wash your hands, it hurts now for the next.
Right. An interesting thing too, Larry, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the same analogy. Imagine you're thinking, okay, 10.2, I'm gonna be good because 10 seconds into it, that last time I was good, but then I held it too long. But we don't realize that the temperature got turned up also. So that throws all your decision making off. So that in life, that's the way things happen. It's not always the same exact variables. And we still think we can use the old way of thinking and the old calculations for something where the variables are totally different.
Right.
He said, "Wiggle around the object." Right.
Yeah. So instead of sitting around thinking about how I want my book to be written, I just need to use Chat GPT.
Oh wow, that's a good one.
The skin off the roof of your mouth. Oh, so you wasn't patient enough before eating green. Right. We all did it. We all have done it.
I ain't never did that, Sean. Never. That never happened. Larry, what were you saying about that book in Chat GPT?
Instead of me sitting around, pondering and saying, all right, I'm gonna start writing this. I'm gonna start writing this here. I just need to get with Chat GPT, and that saved me a world of hurt right now, or get me that much further in the game. Maybe it'll get me jump started.
Right, with ideas. Yeah, definitely. You don't have to take.
Hey fellas, I got to jump off, man.
Go make that money.
Yeah, have a good
Don't
one.
let it make you. Don't let it make you.
Yeah. Sean's funny. That burned your top of your mouth.
New R&B group, One Without Beards. Jeff followed up with Boys to Beards.
And I'm just trying the struggling beard. The funny thing is, I didn't shave all. The whole time I was on vacation last week, I didn't shave, and I just shaved like a couple days ago. I was looking at it, I was like, this is that struggle beginning right here. I ain't about to do it.
Lisa says, just say no to Chat GPT. Stay
original. Don't be a carbon copy.
I think it's
and Chat GPT only has information to 2021, so it's outdated already.
It's outdated anyway. But it can help. I think it can help.
Until it starts to learn and think the language, and then it's like going to start seeing into the 2025 future.
Right.
And then that's when it's going to start killing people because it sees what you're about to do. We've seen movies like that. But, I just to kind of talk about navigating decisions. One of the things I just want to say is we can't be so hard on ourselves in making decisions. We make decisions. That's what we do.
Yep.
As men, we make decisions. We do our very best for our families, for the people around us, for our communities. Sometimes we're selfish in those decisions. Sometimes we're too loving and too caring. We're trying to navigate this world and really begin to see how we can just make the best decisions. And sometimes it's just going to be ugly. When it's like that, sometimes we got to learn how to laugh at it. And made that decision that was dumb, but I did it. I'm still here. I still have an opportunity. Keep it moving. And having people around, brothers like this, to communicate and talk about things helps to add perspective. One of the things that I just want to leave with is improve perspective on things. Make sure you're looking at certain situations from multiple angles before you make decisions. The lens that we grew up with may not be the correct lens to look at everything in life, because a lot of times we always go back to what we learned and who taught us this and did that. But sometimes we have to open our world up to other people who don't come from where we're from, who can see things different than we can see, and enhance our perspective so that we can make better decisions with more access to other resources. And that's important for us to not always have a deficit mindset when we're making decisions, but to have that mindset where we're fully balanced, we have a different perspective, and that will help us make the decisions we can navigate.
Indeed. Appreciate you guys for being here. I've noticed some folks came through on the YouTube side. Make sure you subscribe, hit the thumb, just like that. It's a little lighter, but looks like that. hit the like or hit the dislike. Hit either one, Hit the like though. Hit the like. We appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for sharing. We thank you for Kaneem being in the building. He was a little sleepy, I know. He was taking some naps. He was taking some little nappy naps.
Oh, he was doing that 26-minute theory.
26 minutes.
He wasn't napping. His eyes were just closed.
Right.
He was hearing. You didn't see one of them hard drops, did you?
You're right. You didn't do the drop music. Appreciate Thomas for being here, hanging out with us, as well as Larry Banks. Hey, if you guys want to hang out with us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mr. Larry Banks has an amazing workout. Only 30 minutes, actually only 22 minutes and 30 seconds.
Sure, it ain't 26 minutes.
Text LCF to 84576. After you text LWN, text LCF to 84576. Get those notifications early in the morning. All right, so we look forward to seeing you guys again. Hit the like, you live life. We say, hit the like, you live a fruitful life. Hit dislike, you check out. I won't co-sign, but I do like that.
There you go.
I appreciate you guys. Stay blessed, keep pushing, keep growing. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. 988, you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis. Make sure you dial 988. Again, make good choices and know that we love you. Jesus loves you better. And we will see you in the AM. I don't have my thing up. I'm saying peace, but I ain't got my video. There we go. Peace out.